So I've been looking through my Battletech podcast archives here, and have we looked at, I can't find it, but have we looked at LRM 5-packs and what role do they have on the table? Tactically, can we do something with them? Now, if you've been following my podcasts, you know one of the builds that I really enjoy. I'm going to share it with you really, really quick. It scales up or down based on the battle value, but essentially it's built around numerous longbows, archers, and LRM carriers. So obviously, if I've got a lot of battle value, I'll take an archer and 2 longbows and 2 LRM carriers. If I have a smaller amount, maybe I'll do a longbow or an archer and 2 LRM carriers. So it stacks up and down. So I literally can put out hundreds and hundreds real-time missiles a turn. Then I've got, you're not just going to sit there and let me do that, right? I've got the next group that's going to be this unit of blocking mechs and vehicles. And again, it scales up for the points. If I'm on a budget, I'll take a T-Bolt. If I've got a little bit more points, battle value, I'll take a T-Bolt, maybe a Warhammer for the love, for the narrative, and I'll take some Demolisher tanks. So they're going to block whatever you come in. Then I take some infantry, a Karnov, some warriors just to spot. I'm going to hit you with that indirect. I'm going to literally missile you indirect. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to go. It's crazy. Then I'm going to take lots and lots of light mechs, usually locusts. And I'm going to release the locust swarm on there. I try to do about 4 for the lulls. You know, again, taking into account the battle value, I can throw down up to 12 on there. They're going to run behind you. It's just going to be a lot of really, really, really controlled chaos. So with that, I say that as the setup, and that goes in. I go into a lot more detail on my Battletech playlist. But for the most part, I want to utilize missile packs that are 15 or 20 in size. Because if I roll average, I'm going to do some good damage. If I roll legendary, I'm going to do a lot more damage, especially when I account for range. And it's going to spread it out, possibly hit some crits, possibly hit you in some weak areas. It's going to chew you down much, much quicker on there. And if I can build in redundancy, redundancy is important in Battletech. Having 2 LRM 20 packs, that has a lot more potential to hit and damage than just 1. In my opinion, if we go down to 10 or 5, there has to be a good reason for it on there. Do I want mechs? Is my primary strategy going to evolve around mechs that can put out 5 and 10 pack LRMs? No, because we don't have the redundancy. We don't have the saturation point. There has to be a really, really good reason. 2 that stick out, and this is going to kind of lead into the tactics for the 5-pack, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Something like the Valkyrie breaks all the rules. You've got a light mech, low battle value for what it brings, good armor, okay speed, but it has the jump, and it gives you a 10-pack on there. So you get something that can run and gun behind and shoot a 10-pack. You have some mini indirect that or can directly engage targets at unique angles and open up new fronts. So although it's not 2 20-packs, although it's not 1 20-pack or a 15-pack, it gives you something on there, something tactically special for that mech. When we jump down to a 5-pack, I see it being utilized as 2 things. The classic is the grasshopper. Grasshopper looks a little bit weird, kind of looks like a grasshopper. I guess that's the intention of it. It is Inner Sphere. It's a really good machine. And on a side note, if we're going up against the clans, I think the grasshopper is in this classification of Inner Sphere Succession Era mechs that, as well as an Inner Sphere machine can, it can hold its own against the clans. It's got a good output of armor, speed, damage, redundancy. Primarily, it's an energy-based mech. Primarily, it wants to get up there and medium laser you to death. On the way in, just so it can do something on the way in, it's got the 5-pack on there. It's got something to shoot off. So we see this occasionally with mechs that have a 5 or 10 pack, or in the case if we're going to inflate it up to the Atlas, because it has the raw tonnage and space, it mounts the 20 pack or the Cyclops. That role, based on the rest of the weapons those mechs have, the Atlas and the Cyclops, they want to close on there. So the 20 pack is relegated to, look, on my way in, I've got something to do as I'm slowly trudging across the table on there. So the 5 on the Grasshopper does that. Where I see taking LRM 5 packs, the Thorn. It's a mech that I don't see played as much on there. I've had some good results with it. The exact tactical breakdown is in my podcast list here for Battletech. But essentially a low battle value light mech LRM 5 pack. I use it as a skirmisher. I'm spacing, all the years I played Ancients and DBA, I played Romans, you'd have your skirmishers that would come up, throw the spears, and then basically run away. And I'm spacing on their name for the moment. But from that perspective, that's exactly how I would use this Thorn. I'll run up the sides of the table and just shoot off some 5 packs. Maybe I'll indirect. Maybe I'll do some damage. It's not so much about the damage, it's about the harassment. As soon as you start rolling dice in Battletech, you're going to attract the attention of your opponent. If I can attract your attention on that Thorn for a turn or two, it's never really going to do that much. It doesn't have redundancy. It's only a 5 pack. Even if it hits, there's going to be the spread of the missiles. It's only one mech. It's low battle value. It's low priority. But is it Tricknology or the PsyOps? That value is worth a lot more than the actual damage output. And if I'm going to invest in Tricknology, I want to invest my real battle value in as little as possible for something that may or may not work. But where I do find it interesting as a skirmisher, City Fight, where you have units parked in the back, maybe long-range missile units or some support tanks, the ability to flank and just fire off some 5 packs on that, get some motive hits, get lucky on there. In city environments where you're on the outskirts of the city and you have long fire lanes down there, literally running a circle around the perimeter of the city, just firing off that 5 pack every single turn on there. And the value there, of course, is the Tricknology of it. But based on being able to run around and get those lanes of fire in City Fight, City Tech, there's a lot of chances for motive hits on vehicles. There's a lot of chances for getting rear armor, on light and medium mechs that still has bite on there. Because what I find is a hex map, you tend to want to move in circles because you've got everywhere to radiate to go. But the very nature of a city with these roads and these alleyways and these lanes, it is very crisscross on there. So having just a cheap, fast mech with LRMs, well, actually probably the Valkyrie would be better, but the battle value is a little bit higher on there. That's where I really see the 5 pack shining. Admittedly, play style, I want the big guns, I want the big missiles, I want redundancy, I want my 2 longbows, I want my 2 archers, and I want my 2 LRM carriers. But there is value in the tactica of the LRMs, and there is value of leveraging it with minimal battle value, buy-in on there, and that's how I see a 5 pack being utilized.